Hello there, my name is Ben and I'm the guitarist and I'm the voice of Portraits. I thought I'd make this video today to update you with what's going on and to give you a little bit more detail about this Kickstarter and the album. So as you can probably tell from the sound of my voice, I live in the UK. And to give you some sort of idea, I live 4,701 miles away from John as the crow flies. He lives in Colorado. It makes playing music impossible, obviously, and it makes writing music difficult. Like, it doesn't have to be this difficult. So the idea of this Kickstarter is to raise enough money to fly John to the UK, to stay here in a residential studio for 2 weeks, to track the entirety of the record. And it sounds like a lot of work, but actually, we know these songs inside out. We're 7 songs deep now, and we're looking to write at least 10 songs. There's also a piano concerto as well. But we know what we're doing. I know all the parts, they're now muscle memory, and John will be learning the parts and making the muscle memory too. So we're definitely covered in that sense. One question came up asking, well, why is John coming here and I'm not going there? The simple answer to that is that John isn't really a music industry guy. He's an archaeologist, which is an incredible thing to say. And he's an archaeologist first and a drummer second, whereas I'm a music industry guy first and I was just about to say I'm an archaeologist second. I'm not an archaeologist, but I am a music industry guy. I have a lot of contacts here and I know some decent studios, have a lot of gear myself, and of the two options, it just made more sense for John to come here. Hopefully by that time we'll have an endorsement so we can get the drum kit set up here and just immediately start recording. So that's the main reason why John's coming here rather than me going there. I wanted to also mention a little bit about the Kickstarter itself. You see, the money we're raising in the Kickstarter is so valuable to us, but it's not everything. You see, up until this point we funded things ourselves, and there's been quite a bit of that. And when it comes to the album, we'll be funding things ourselves as well, because in the Kickstarter budget, if you want to call it that, that pays for the studio, which is relatively expensive, and an engineer for that period of time as well. What it doesn't pay for is things like a choir, orchestra, arrangement, and that kind of stuff, which we really want this album to be big. So we're going to be putting some of the money up ourselves to do that kind of stuff. But that base studio money is vitally important, because without that, we literally couldn't do it. So what you're supporting is the kind of rudiments of the album, rather than the kind of extraneous little bits and bobs. So your support is vital, and I really thank you so much for your support so far. I think right now we're on about a quarter. We've just fulfilled a quarter of our pledges. And Kickstarter, if you don't know how it works, if it doesn't get to 100%, none of the money is taken. So as far as I'm aware, you haven't been charged for anything right now, but in 35 days, I believe it is now, if the Kickstarter's reached its full capacity, like we reached the $7,500 mark, then the money's charged. That's how I see it. But if we don't reach that mark, then it's essentially cancelled. We have got a plan B. Plan B is definitely not preferable, and it's going to take a lot longer, and we won't be able to do things like orchestral stuff and choir-based stuff as well. So we're really hoping on plan A. And thank you so much, by the way. If you've already supported, I know someone bought my algorithm guitar, which is incredible. I thought that was going to take a while to sell. It's like the first day someone snapped that up. So there are some really cool pledges out there. I think if I was you, I'd go for either the nerd package, or I think there's one called the executive package. They're both really good. And the nerd one specifically, though, because it just shows some of the work that's going into this. Like, there'll be probably a mini documentary that comes out with the record, so you'll see a lot of the behind stuff, and it's just mounds of paperwork essentially, but it's just so much fun, and it's so in-depth, and it's just incredible to for the first time in a very long time, I feel like I'm composing, which I do composing on the side. I do a lot for kind of game and film, but under various aliases. But it's really nice to go back to doing music and composing it properly, and kind of scoring things out and really thinking about tempo and the sustenance of what you're doing. It's really cool, and that's a big part of Portraits. I wanted to talk a little bit to how I'm recording guitars and what's going to be happening. So I'm actually tracking all of the album guitars now, but I'm tracking every single guitar clean. So me just going straight into Pro Tools in 192 kilohertz, really ultra high quality stuff, which means that by the time we're in the studio, because the studio we've chosen has a Studio A and Studio B, it means that John can be in Studio A drumming with the engineer and I can be in Studio B doing other things. And one of those things is called reamping. So I can sit in there with my Mesa Boogie, I've got a Mark V and a Mark IV, sit there literally reamping every single one of my clean parts through an amp, miking it and going straight back into Pro Tools, so I can really tweak every nuance of my guitar tone, because it's not true to say that I just use like a preset every time I want to record a guitar, but I have some kind of go-to things and I tweak them a bit. But with portraits it warrants so much more than that, because there's so much dynamic range. Like it goes from so quiet to just like obliteratingly loud, and I wanted to spend a lot of time sculpting my guitar tone and taking a lot of pride in my guitar tone. So I'm actually literally tracking album ready guitar parts right now, and I'll be doing my vocals in the studio as well with, I believe, a U47 FET U47, which is a really nice mic. I have the U87s here, but I wanted to try the U47, so just because I've heard it's quite nice on vocals. So that's the kind of idea. The studio also, by the way, it's called a residential studio, which means that you can basically stay up to whatever time. It's like 24 hours a day. If you want it to be 24 hours a day, it can be 24 hours a day, which is really ideal, because obviously John's going to be traveling here from the States, which means that there is the likelihood that he'll be jet lagged or at least tired. So he can be working on his own time frame. It literally does not matter what time he starts, because he can start at 1 o'clock in the morning and go all the way through to 1 o'clock in the morning if he wants, whereas I normally work from about 8 in the morning to about 2 a.m. every day, so I have quite long days. But I seem to have a kind of peak optimum creative time in the morning, and then really optimum creative time at night, really late at night. So I don't know how our schedules are going to line up, but the point is it doesn't matter, because there's going to be overlap like that anyway, and it's so much more relaxed, and you can focus so much more on the music when you're not hearing that of like a timer ticking down. Because normally when I go into a studio, it's on the clock and you've got to be out by 9 p.m, and that's not really ideal. One of the really cool prizes, and probably one of the prizes that I'd pick if I wasn't in the band, is the opportunity to come and join us in this studio. And it's only open to, I think, 1, maybe 2 people, but it's not the same as going to a studio with, like, say, my band 2 Down. It's not quite the same, because what you'll be doing and taking part in is something vitally planned, highly scheduled, and really seeing optimum, hopefully, results happening through a massive series of emails and planning. So if you did want to come and see that, then I would really suggest trying to pick up that prize, because I'm also saying it because we need the support with the Kickstarter, but genuinely, if it were me, I'd love that. And you know, getting to spend time with the band, tracking in the studio, kind of come out with the ideas and all that kind of stuff, it's just a really unique opportunity. And you know, bigger bands don't do that because they have labels and they have producers, and so the idea of someone else coming in and offering their thoughts and stuff, it's not wanted. They don't want that. They want kind of clarity in what they're doing, or the producer wants his check at the end of the day, and probably wouldn't get much credence if just one of their fans came in and started shouting at what they need to do. So it's a really cool opportunity, and I hope at least someone comes and witnesses it, because it's going to be interesting. The whole thing will be documented, as we said anyway, so don't worry if you either can't afford it or don't want to do it, because there will be hopefully a mini, or hopefully at least a mini documentary. Hopefully a full documentary would be really good of our time spent there. So that's the plan. Anyway, I just thought I'd give you a brief update as to what we're doing and how the Kickstarter works and how the album's going. Again, we're 7 songs deep now into at least a 10-song record. And these songs are really long. Like, they're not 3-minute songs. These are like 6-minute average songs. And so don't think that you're shortchanged by the fact that it's only 10, because like there are some songs, song 6 and 7 that we're working on right now, are kind of two parts of the same song. Both are really long parts. It's kind of like an opus, in classical terms you have like a movement, and it's kind of like that, moving like an interlude between one song and another. It's going to be really good. In fact, a lot of classical kind of motifs are going into this album, which is really interesting. Going back to the composing point, I don't often get to do that. Hopefully you'll appreciate that as well. But there's a lot of stuff like that to talk about, so much stuff to talk about. John is very capable of talking about the mathematics and the principles going into his drumming, because there's so much going into his drumming. There's a lot going into the guitar as well, trust me, but it's easier to explain when you're looking in drums and talking in numbers. So thank you very much for watching this, and if you don't mind taking part in the Kickstarter, that would mean the world to us. And hopefully there's a link for it either on screen or below, and thank you for your time. Thanks.